By now, we have all seen this image of Liam Conejo Ramos, the 5-year-old detained in his Minnesota driveway last month wearing the Blue Bunny hat, Spider-Man backpack. It's an image seared in so many of our minds. Well, today he's back home. His family's still fighting deportation, but his detention is not unique. An analysis from the Marshall Project finds the number of children in ICE detention under the Trump administration is 170 children on average each day. That is 6 times what it was when Trump retook office. At the end of the Biden administration, it was an average of 25 children. Now, when asked about the number of children in custody and whether this reflects an increased focus on family units or unaccompanied children, DHS told MS Now they were working on getting that information. We still haven't heard back. Let's bring in the journalists behind that reporting from the Marshall Project, staff writer Shannon Hefferman and senior data reporter Anna Flagg. Ladies, great work. Thank you for joining us. Anna, can you talk to us about why you decided to do this analysis, and were you surprised by what you found?
Yeah, we wanted to see the effects that these increased enforcement actions were having on children and on families. And I think I was a little bit shocked at the level of the increase in the numbers, and especially at how many young children are being targeted.
Let's talk more about who's in custody. Shannon, you were the one making these calls. What did you learn about these children, the age ranges, how long they were or are being held?
Yeah, there's infants included in people who are being detained. And we heard that some of the parents of those infants are having trouble getting things like bottled water as much as they need it to make bottles. And any parent knows that's essential if you have a child that you're feeding by bottle. And the children are staying for what for a child is a long stretch, in excess of 20 days. That's beyond a court limit of how long they should be able to be held there. And one thing that we're hearing that is really troubling is that for some of these families, they're being threatened if they don't behave well, that they could be separated, which if, a child hears that, that can be really, really psychologically damaging for a young child.
And I'm sure there are other things that are harmful. Liam Conejo Ramos' family is fighting their deportation after he was released last month. Lawmakers talked about how he was depressed. He wasn't eating. He didn't have access to clean clothes or education. Shannon, how did the conditions that he faced maybe compare to other children, the hundreds of other children seeing potential, deportation who've been held in detention? And what about the other psychological impacts?
Yeah, no, that really matches with trends we've heard from other people inside and what we've read in declarations and court documents. People complain that the food is infested with worms or mold. Parents say that it's hard to get their children to eat and they're losing weight. The psychological distress has led to children who are previously potty trained wetting themselves or hitting themselves in the face. Parents complain that the children aren't able to get the education that they need or access to just, being able to play like a regular child. We heard reports of kids literally resorting to playing with rocks because they were so desperate for some kind of stimulation. A lot of research shows that this has psychological impacts in children, not just for while they're detained, but after the fact, long-standing trauma that they're going to have to deal with.
Are there any specific stories that really stood out to you when you were looking into this?
So one story that's sticking out to me right now, it's not in the story we reported because we heard about this more recently, is a family that was detained with a 1-year-old who had a real major medical emergency. Their child had COVID and their oxygen level dropped extremely low to about 30. That's a very dangerous level for a child. And they had trouble getting the medical attention they needed, despite that being a very, very serious situation. Now, that family has recently been released, but I think that does just show to you, like how incredibly dangerous this is. A lot of the advocates that we spoke to said they're worried it's a matter of time until a child dies if they do not fix the problems and change course.
Anna, you note that this data does not include the recent surge from the administration's crackdown in Minnesota. Do you have any idea how the number of children in detention today might compare?
I mean, from the reporting that we've seen, it seems to have just gone up. And we were only able to look at the data that has been released to the Deportation Data Project that has been requesting and collecting this data and making it available to the public, and that goes up till mid-October. But now we're seeing reports from other sources saying that the number of people in the Dilley Detention Center, which is where a lot of these families are being held, has gone way up. And we don't know exactly how many kids that involves, but if the population is similar to what it was before, a large portion of that is kids, and we're talking about maybe hundreds, maybe as many as 800.
Anna, what other information are you seeking as you're continuing to report this out?
Well, we want to know for sure how many kids are in there right now. We want to know whether they're receiving medical attention. We want to know whether their food is adequate. We want to know how long they've been held. We want to know whether they're being held longer than the Flores settlement stipulates that they can be held. And we want to know what the plan is for their release.
Yeah, Shannon, what kind of oversight is there? How do you get the answers, and how is there any guardrail to ensure that children are treated at a certain standard?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. A lot of the oversight that has historically been provided for detention facilities has been rolled back. One of the major guardrails that is in place right now is this Flores settlement. That's a lawsuit, that's a settlement that provides guidance of how children should be treated while they're in detention. But the federal government has been seeking to be released from that oversight. And just as a journalist, I am always troubled when there's places that the public cannot see inside and get information from, because that's a place that is ripe for abuse usually.
Shannon Hefferman and Anna Flagg, keep up the great work. Thank you so much for sharing your reporting with us.